Hey guys, this is Matt with Hydroponics.com, and today we're going to be talking about flushing your plants out in both hydroponics and in soil. So first we'll talk about the concept of flushing. We want to slowly wean our plants off of nutrients towards the end of its life cycle to help with the flavor and aroma and the overall maturation of the plant. You will see some debate online about starving your plant at the last part of its life. I wouldn't say we want to starve it, but I think most people would agree we don't want to harvest a plant that's completely full of nutrients. So keep that in mind. You might find yourself in the middle somewhere, but do some experimentation, maybe flush one out really well and see if that plant gives you a better overall quality at the end of its life cycle, and then make your own judgment. So if you're in hydroponics and you want to try flushing your plant out, there's two methodologies on that. I would say the first one would be a little bit longer flush. You would basically do a res change 7 to 14 days before you harvest. Probably on the longer side if you're going to go this style, maybe 10 to 14 days. And then you would just add your RO water, your reverse osmosis water, and or your tap water, depending on how clean it was. Obviously we want it low in parts per million, and you would just add that to your system as your plants take up water and nutrients, and you would watch your nutrients slowly dilute down to around 200 to 400 parts per million a day of harvest. It's a more gradual way to flush in hydro, and that'll also allow you to dial it in a little bit more for yourself. Because it's a longer process, you might notice that you can do it a little shorter or a little faster, but that's the general rule of thumb, and then you can kind of go from there. If you want to do more of a quick flush in hydro, maybe feed a little bit longer and get more of those last minute benefits there with the nutrients, and then do a quick flush at the end. I'd say the most popular way to do that would be about 3 to 7 days time. Use something like the Clear-X, the Flawless Finish, the Floor Clean, and this is going to help strip your roots of nutrients, strip the system of nutrients, and a lot of people will run that for about a week with just water and or RO water. And that'll give you that flush that you're looking for in a little bit faster time frame. Some kind of parts per million meter would be really good for this scenario, either a continuous one and or something like a pen that you can just test on a regular basis once, twice a day, and to make sure that you're continuously going down and then harvesting at a level that you're comfortable with. If you're in soil or soilless, keep in mind the two main differences are depending on how much food is in that soil. If you have almost no food or no food at all in that soil, it's a soilless. It's a straight pro mix or sunshine mix by itself, no amendments added. You're kind of more on the hydroponic style, where you could do a quick flush 3 to 7 days with something like a Floor Clean. Clear-X actually run quite a bit through to help pull everything out, or you could do an extended flush 2 to 3 weeks even of just slower and slower, lower and lower nutrient numbers, and or just 2 or 3 weeks of basically plain water and just keeping your eyes on the plant and making a judgment call when to start that process so that you end at the proper ripeness. The other way to do that with stronger soils, if you're running an amended soil, it's hard to flush amendments out of soil, so keep that in mind when you're choosing a soil. When you're choosing when to transplant, you want to make sure that you're going to time it up so that plant does not have an excess of nutrients when you harvest. There's not a great way to pull nutrients out of an amended soil, so just give yourself a lot of time, especially your first time trying it. Do 2 to 3 weeks of just water, and I'd recommend beneficial microbes, Great White, Organism XL, any of these kind of things that have a lot of beneficial microbes in them to help break down that nutrients that's in that amended soil, get it to your plant so that they can process it, get it out of that medium. I recommend doing that for 2 to 3 weeks on your first try, and if they get a little bit too ripe, a little bit too yellow for you early, you can kind of bump that back on your next try. But I would say most people would agree, if you are going to start flushing, the overflush would probably be better than underflush if you're going to go through the process of doing it. And then with lightly amended soils, if you're feeding a strong synthetic nutrients, once again, you're probably going to want to start that process relatively early, or use something like a Floor Clean or Clear-X. If you're using an organic nutrients with a strongly amended or a lightly amended soil, and you're looking for something to help pull maybe some of that liquid nutrients that you've been feeding them with, the Aphrodite extract, which is a simple sugar, helps pull some of that nutrients out. The Herculean Harvest is a great way to help pull some nutrients out and just get things moving in your soil. This does have quite a bit of phosphorus in it, so I wouldn't do it too late because it does have quite a bit of nutrients. But you could try it, at the beginning of your flush cycle, and then maybe go to something like this. And then once again, just plain water I'm not a big fan of really doing really heavy runoffs, especially really last minute, because they don't really get to dry out that much, and you end up only getting to do 1 or maybe 2 in a 3 or 7 day period, which is enough for some plants, or some people maybe not enough for others. But like I said, experiment. I would say that I see better benefits by doing a longer period of time, letting the plant gradually eat up its nutrient reserves. You can also pull fan leaves off if you start realizing, oh man, I'm getting closer and closer, I'm not getting that yellowing effect that I'm looking for. Big fan leaves hold nutrients in them as like a little storages, and you can pull those off as you get closer and closer to harvest, and that'll actually deplete that plant of reserves that it has, and it'll help the ripening process. And then last but not least, the dark process before harvest. A lot of people like to do 24 to 48 hours, maybe 12 hours at the lightest, to lowest, to do just straight dark to help with plant maturation. What that does is help store the nutrients and the sugars below the surface of the soil, and just gives you a jump start on the harvest and the process after harvest. In hydro, a lot of people like to do the same thing, 12 to 48 hours of dark, but there is a group of people that would recommend trying a completely dry root mass for anywhere from 12 to 48 hours as well, and seeing how that benefits your overall quality at the end of the cycle. So all this stuff's available on our website, including our parts per million meters, pH meters, flushing agents, organic and non-organic. Come check us out. I hope this video helped you out, cleared some stuff up, and we'll see you next time.